Have you ever thought that even a wasp can cause waking in the middle of the night, waiting for the right time for you to take action? As it is, this is a story that I'm going to have to tell you. It's all about that. One night in Memphis, Tennessee, a town well known for their music, their stories, and now, by a miracle, which seems to have come straight out of a movie, it's a comedy god. The most intriguing thing of all? It all took place in a church where the unexpected mingled with the impossible, and it seemed like a simple act of theft has become a lesson in faith, the mood of the sacred and of redemption. I'm Josh Clark, the caretaker of the First Baptist Church of Memphis, Tennessee, and I can say I've seen it all here, but this story is different from any other. And what was even more amazing to me is that it is yet to be told, because every time I think about it, it makes me think, how is it that you, a burglar, with a mask on, and the sleep in her eyes, can't sleep at the moment, the more wrong in your life? And that is, that the wasp's gold were hoping that the silence of the night? You are going to find out that, sometimes, what appears to be a simple, ultimate destination, you could become the greatest lesson of courage, and repentance, and, yes, a touch of humor in heaven. Stay with me till the end because this story has a special ingredient you won't want to miss, a mixture of punishment and grace, and the transformation is amazing that only those who truly believe in the power of faith can see. And, hey, what are you going to listen now? You can change the way you see it, not only the faith, but also to the smaller details of life that often seem insignificant, but they carry a powerful message. Have you ever gone through something like this? Already picked up on thinking that, even for a single night, you can hide a surprise to God? Therefore, prepare yourself, because you as the next step in this narrative will take you to a place where the bugs are preaching the sermon on heaven, preparing for the delivery of a product that goes beyond human understanding. And all of a sudden, it all starts to make sense, even when the night seems to be only silence and darkness. As the night gets deeper, the feeling that something bigger is waiting for us becomes more and more intense. It was as if the universe was conspiring quietly, preparing you to each and every detail for such a revelation that we could not have foreseen. In that moment, you realize that it's the little things, the ones that often go overlooked in the hectic routine. They carry a deep meaning, and is often invisible to the eyes in a hurry. Perhaps that's the beauty of life. It challenges us to slow down, to open yourself up to the unknown, even when everything seems to be calm, or simply to quiet the others. It is in this silence that the answer would appear. In a way, our logic is not able to understand right away, but your heart acknowledged to be true. If you have ever felt such a connection to that bridge, the unseen in between what is known and what is yet to come, you know what I'm talking about. A moment of pause, reflection, and invites us to trust in the process, and to understand that there is a purpose to every detail, even when everything seems to be in silence. And it is precisely this faith is silent. It sustains us. It reminds us that, sometimes, what comes after the darkness is a light that never even imagined to be possible. So, if you feel touched your heart in some way, leave us a comment of what you touch him. You don't want it all up with loving care. Your participation is what keeps you in this journey to live, because when you share your feelings, it helps to spread this message to those who also need to hear it. And if you want to continue to explore your thoughts with me, take advantage and subscribe to the channel. This video is a little deeper on this journey of discovery. Right now, for us to move on and to understand this mystery, there's something even more important what you need to understand. And right there is where it all starts to change, when you realize that the quest for meaning is not a matter of chance, but it's a journey that challenges us to look out for in a very sincere and brave. Many times we get caught in the illusion that our thoughts and emotions are just reactions to ebb and flow, something that simply happens to us, that without a more thorough explanation. But the truth is that both of these emotions and carry the message of the valuable signs of what's really going on inside you, even when you haven't been able to see it clearly. And it is precisely at this point that many of us have forgotten that our true strength lies in our ability to listen to the silence, and the courage to face the things that is often avoided. When you begin to look at our own experiences with them more closely, we realize that each and every feeling, every doubt, every fear, is to invite you to think bigger. They are all the behind the scenes of our universe is, where all the answers that we seek are hidden, sometimes under layers of fear, guilt, or self-doubt. And when we allow ourselves to delve into these details, we can begin to understand that our history is not what it seems to be on the surface. It is a story that reveals the extent to which we allow ourselves to feel, to question, and, above all, learn from and with each and every step. With this understanding, many of the times, it has the weight of a revelation is silent as a whisper of it gets in your soul, begging to be heard. In the process, we learn that the real transformation comes not from the external changes, but internal change, and that starts with understanding who you really are, beyond the masks, which we use in order to please, to hide, or to get away from that. This is uncomfortable. And this is the path of self-knowledge. It is often a lonely journey, because you need to have the courage to face our own shadows, to accept that not everything is in our history. He was a perfect man, and that, even then, there's the beauty and the potential for growth in each of the scar. The beauty of realizing that no matter what we have wrong, and there is always a chance to rewrite our narrative and to give a whole new meaning to our experiences, transforming the pain of learning a loss in strength. And it is at this point that we realize that the impact of all of this is much more than we do ourselves. When we tune in to that inner truth, we can begin to influence the world around us in a way that's more true. Of our authenticity, it becomes a bridge that invites other people to open up, to share his own struggles and breakthroughs. More and more, we understand that you are not here by accident, and that our choices, our thoughts, and our emotions are tools of manifestation and transformation. And when we become aware of it, a sense of responsibility arises in a natural way. As if you were on a mission to silence the help of the Zoom in this light, it is to spread this message of hope, courage, and authenticity. This is more in-depth understanding and makes us realize that life is, in its essence, it is an eternal learning process. Every experience, no matter how hard it may seem to you, it's an opportunity to connect with more real than we are. And, in taking on this mission of self-transformation, we can begin to understand situations in a different way, with more empathy, more patience. After all, it's all in our journey is that we have internally, our beliefs, our standards, our stories are not told. And the big question is, to what extent are we willing to open up this space for the new, the unknown, which can lead to a higher level of consciousness? Because, deep down, that it is of the very essence of growing, evolving beyond what we thought possible. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. It is as if each and every layer of understanding to be a door that opens up to a whole new dimension to our existence. You understand that we are co-creators of our own reality. Our emotions have the power to shape everything around us. It is a step that requires courage, but it is also freeing. When you start to realize that your mind is a powerful tool for manifestation, and it changes everything. Suddenly, what seemed to be far away or out of reach, it starts to become a real possibility, because we no longer have the victims of the accident, and we act with intention, with purpose. And, in this movement, and to a new sense of freedom arises, which is that we are the authors of our story and the architects of our own destiny, even if I might have been attached to the external environment. But that freedom doesn't come without a price. She demands that you put aside long-held beliefs, which, breaking with the limitations that have been imposed since the childhood, we may ask what we have always accepted it as the truth. And, in doing so, we discovered that the greatest obstacle to many times as we are of ourselves, of our own limitations, the invisible ones, the ones that don't even realize it, but they keep us from moving forward. It is a kind of battle they are silent, where the most dangerous enemy is our own mind, full of self-doubt and fears that are rooted. And yet, within each and every one of us, there's an immense power to change, a glimmer of hope that pushes us forward even when everything seems to be falling apart. Because, deep down, we know that evolution is an ongoing process, and that nothing happens by chance, and that every step you take, however small it may seem to you, it's a win-win. And, we are faced with a fundamental question. To what extent are we really ready to break down, for we know the truth? Because this is a journey of self-discovery is not a straight line. It's made up of curves, ups and downs, moments of silence, and explosion of clarity. And in these times of turmoil, we learn that what really matters is not to avoid fear and pain, but you learn to live with them. You understand that you are a part of our growth. So, every scar, every tear, every doubt, makes it an essential piece in the puzzle that is our soul. And, when you look at this whole picture, we see the beauty of life lies in our ability to transform the pain into the light, to cause the wounds to be a stage for the renaissance back to our lives, even when everything seems to come crashing down. And it is this movement of the incessant transformation, we realize that our greatest task is, in fact, to find out who you really are beyond the mask, beyond the label, in addition to the expectations of the world. In this never-ending quest for authenticity is what makes you go forward even when the path seems too heavy. It's full of challenges not seen. Because, deep down, each and every one of us carries a glimmer of hope, and a desire to be better, to make a difference, starting with the things that really matter. And, in doing so, we are invited to ponder, what would be the next logical step, in which a decision could open the door to a new life? That's the big question that hangs in the air, as we continue on this journey of self-discovery, searching for a greater truth, a deeper, more real. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. It is as if each and every layer of understanding to be a door that opens up to a whole new dimension to our existence. You understand that we are co-creators of our own reality. Our emotions have the power to shape everything around us. It is a step that requires courage, but it is also freeing. When you start to realize that your mind is a powerful tool for manifestation, and it changes everything. Suddenly, what seemed to be far away or out of reach, it starts to become a real possibility, because we no longer have the victims of the accident, and we act with intention, with purpose. And, in this movement, and to a new sense of freedom arises, which is that we are the authors of our story and the architects of our own destiny, even if I might have been attached to the external environment. For this reason, The revolution is going on inside of us. It is not a change in the surface, but it is a far-reaching transformation that challenges everything you thought to be true. It is an invitation to rewrite our narrative, to create an all-new story in which we are the protagonists of mind, with the power to choose our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. When that realization sets in, everything around us becomes one to reflect this change in its internal structure. The people, the opportunities, and the obstacles, you become part of the learning experience of a higher purpose. And, in the process, we have found that the greatest freedom comes from understanding that even in the face of the storm, you can keep calm, clarity, and hope, because we know that we have the command of your own ship. And when you realize it, your life is no longer a single stage of random events to make it a work of art that is created by us, and our lives more fully. Every decision, every thought, every feeling, and shall carry a weight of responsibility and self-love, because we know that we are the creators of our own reality. And then, at that moment, the place, and a light comes on within, lighting the way for a life that is more aligned with our essence is pure. This is the true journey of self-discovery. You realize that, deep down, we are all pieces of a big puzzle, where each and every one of them plays a critical role in building a more conscientious, more fully and more freely. And, as we continue exploring the layers of understanding, we can see that the biggest lesson of all this is that nothing happens by chance, everything happens at the right time, and that when relying on this stream, we are to grow up in a way that seemed to be impossible. Life with its twists and turns, it teaches us to trust our intuition that the value of silence as a source of wisdom, and to see beyond the immediate, not realizing the infinite potential that lies within each and every one of us. So, we have to be free of the shackles of the past and expectations of the outside. We make room for our true selves to shine with all its power, illuminating not only our own way, but also that of those around us. And this is, without a doubt, it is the greatest gift that you can give to the world, to the authenticity of being who you really are, courage, love, and faith in the process of evolution. He comments that I came to realize the truth. And when you do that, you start to realize that life is a constant battle being waged against us, but it's an opportunity for us to reconnect with what you really are, beyond the mask, beyond the opinions of others. It is as if, in the silent night, the whole of the dust of the past was slowly dissipating, revealing a light, pure, crystal clear that he was always there, hidden beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and limitations. In this light, it is not something that is external, it is our essence, that part of you that never leaves us, even in the most difficult moments, even when everything around you seems to fall apart. And then, when we allow ourselves to see it in this light, we can begin to understand what the journey is, in fact, a quest for authenticity, and a genuine connection with what we know, what we believe, and that which beats within us all, with the strength of the truth. In this quest, the more it sounds like a very difficult task, or even scary, it is, in essence, a kind of liberation, an act of courage that leads us to abandon the shackles of the trial, the social expectations, and their own limitations as we from time to time. Decision-making to follow your heart and listen to the quiet voice that calls us to be faithful to us. It's a victory for the silent, an affirmation that we are all capable of changing our reality and to embrace who you really are. And this change doesn't happen from one minute to the next. It is a continuous process, a dance, a subtle, between what we are, who we are, and what we can become if we allow it to. It's like a river meets an obstacle, but instead of stopping, you find your way around, always in search of the journey, natural, free from the bondage you are trying to get the core. In it, we see it all around us reflect that change in the internal relations, the opportunities, and the perceptions and expectations. Everything starts to line up in a way that makes us understand that true freedom is about being true to who we truly are, without masks, without war, without fear of being judged. And, at this point, we understand that authenticity is not an easy choice, but a necessity, a mission which leads us to a state of inner peace and deep connection with the universe. With each step taken in this direction, it is a statement of who we are waking up to a new reality, where your self-love, faith, and courage go hand in hand, forming a bridge and a solid that supports us on our journey to more challenging ones. And, in doing so, we learn to see that all the answers that we seek has always been within us, hidden under the layers of insecurity and doubt, just waiting for us to be allowed to deal with them. It's like a seed that can be planted with love and patience. It germinates very slowly, to reveal a power that not even imagined to have. And when you realize this, we realize that true change begins in our minds, in our perception, in our willingness to leave what no longer serves us, and embrace it for what it really is, our eyes sparkle, our heart beating stronger. This is a journey of self-discovery. It is, in fact, go on a journey of self-love, for acceptance, for respect for who we are and who we can become. And then, when we allow ourselves that freedom, we begin to attract into our lives what we really want, because if we are true to ourselves, we are aligning our actions with our inner selves more fully. From that moment on, things become more clear, lighter, and more full of purpose. Because, after all, the greatest discovery of what we are doing is, happiness is not outside, it's always been inside, hidden under the layers of insecurity and doubt, for so long, we couldn't see it. And in that discovery, when it happens, it is a silent revolution, a far-reaching transformation that invites us to be who we really are, with all our flaws, strengths, and opportunities. It is this authenticity that we find our greatest strength, and the courage to move forward, and to make choices that elevate us, and, above all, to love ourselves, so true. And, in doing so, we realize that life becomes a journey full of discoveries, and the constant journey of growth and evolution that just won't die, because every day you have the opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to retrace our path, to select who you want to be. And this is, without a doubt, this is the most freedom you can gain, the freedom to be who we are without fear, without shame, with all its beauty and complexity of what's involved. Because, at the end of the day, the true authenticity, it is an act of love, and a deep commitment to our core, is a celebration of all that we are and all that we can be, and when we are the light that dwells within us, to shine in the sun. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, many times, and the freedom to be who we really are, it requires a courage that we don't always get to it immediately. She asks us to look within, and what we will face our shadows, in our more information about the silent insecurities, which they insist on hiding in the dark corners of a mind. And, at the same time, it is in the process of self-acceptance that we have found for a quiet strength, a courage that is born of a deep understanding of what it is all part of us, even those parts that we would prefer to conceal or deny it. It's like, to be free of the mask, and the expectations of others, to have some space for it at the core of who I could breathe, expand, and unfold its full beauty. And with this revelation, the more it may seem scary at times, it's also a kind of liberation is tremendous, because they connect us with the one who truly matter, our truth, our values, our authenticity. It should not be at the sale, or in hiding. When you immerse yourself in this journey, we have realized that it is not linear, and that it has been full of ups and downs, moments of clarity, and for any questions not be underestimated. But it is precisely because of this back and forth that we have learned something important, that our development does not rely on a perfectly apparent, but the acceptance is kind of every step you take, every mistake, every discomfort that comes to mind when we try to understand each other a little better. And, in the process, we began to see the small victories, built in, all the times that we were able to look in the mirror and see a man who, in spite of all your faults, he is worthy of love and respect. This is a discovery that changes everything, because it frees us from the weight of trying to appeal to all of us to fit in a way that has not been done for us. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand that true strength lies in vulnerability, and the courage to show who you are, even if it means challenging opinions, and to confront the fear or accepting our own imperfections as part of the package of being human. And, in this way, all of this seemed to be the one limitation that is transformed into a gateway to self-discovery. Every question turns into an opportunity for them to explore new territory built in. Every fear is, in fact, a door that, once opened, will lead you to a more in-depth understanding of what's really important. It's as if, when we allow ourselves to feel the things that scares us or makes us uncomfortable, we are building a bridge between the solid between who we were and who we can become. And the bridge is held up by the love of self, empathy we learn to nurture ourselves, and be sure that, even in our failures, we are whole, we are valuable, we are exactly who we should be. The freedom to be who we are, it is, in fact, it is a decision-making every day to bring honor to the core of who to choose as to the authenticity, rather than conformity, and to embrace our light and our shadows are the same kind of love. And it is at this point that you realize that this journey is not only to search, but it is a silent revolution that is happening from within each one of us. It's a transformation that, when you consolidate, you have the power to impact everything around you. Because, to be free from masks and expectations, we can begin to inspire others to do the same. And then, all of a sudden, the world seems a little lighter in weight, more compassionate, more real. And, even in the face of uncertainty, and the difficulties and the obstacles that will appear, we shall understand that the greatest strength comes from within, and in that connection, pure, with the core of who have never ceased to exist, only it was hidden beneath layers of fear and conditioning that we have learned to accept it as absolute truth. And then, when you awaken to that truth, and everything takes on a new meaning, a new outlook, a new chance at life with more authenticity and love. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, in that moment of reflection, it becomes clear that our biggest struggle is often contrary to what we have been told that we should be against all odds they faced from a young age, and against the inner voice that insists on the need to convince ourselves that we are not enough, or that we may not be the same. But, at the same time, this same fight, this is a chance for redemption, to reconnect with what you truly are and can be. It is a chance to rewrite our history, of which the authenticity is, as is our greatest ally, and to understand that the greatest gift we can give is the same one that allows us to embrace our inner selves, without fear, without shame, and with all of the beauty that resides in each and every detail of who you are. Because, deep down, This is the real freedom. The freedom to be a fool, live with courage, love with all our colors, our flaws, and our strengths. And, in doing so, we realize that the world around us becomes more real, more human, more full of hope. And then, perhaps, this is one of the greatest lessons of all. The freedom to be who we are is the first step to turning all of the things that we believe to be impossible. And that's exactly where everything is revealed to him quietly, almost a whisper to the soul, as it is a memory to be forgotten, which returns to the surface when we least expect it. But in truth, it was always there, waiting for the right moment to show itself. When we begin to accept our own faults, what seem to be a weakness and a vulnerability, which happens to be our greatest strength. Because, at the core, we are a combination of the light and the shadow of a doubt, and certainty in times of weakness, which in shape and power, which is often not able to see it right away. It is in recognition of the magic that happens when we allow ourselves to be human in fact, without masks, without reservation, and without the constant need to please or to fit into some mold of pre-established, we can begin to experience the freedom that is beyond any concept of the outside. It is a freedom that is born from the inside, pulsating in the rhythm of the heart, manifesting itself in the courage to look in the mirror and see who you really are, with all of our complexities, our story, our dream, and our questions. And to be free of this prison is invisible to the expectations of others. We begin to realize that the world turns, slowly, like a natural extension of what we carry in-house. Every action, every word, every decision makes it more genuine, more in tune with our inner selves. And, in the process, we have discovered that the authenticity of a never imagined. It moves, inspires, provokes a significant change, not only in the us but also the people around you. Because, somehow, the thing that is real will always find space in your life, like a seed that can be planted with love and courage and flowers in vibrant colors, even in the most barren of the land. And it is this understanding that we are responsible for cultivating this garden for us is to understand, too, that the conversion starts on the inside, and that every little decision of whether or not to accept, to love, to forgive, and it is a silent revolution, which propagates as a wave, in a quiet pond. And, in it, you realize that it's the freedom to be who we truly are. It is, in fact, a bridge that connects us with our essence is pure, and with that part of ourselves that is often hidden by fear or by convention. It is a journey of discovery that takes courage, yes, but also the tenderness and infinite of what we find along the way. Because, deep down, each and every step that we take is in the direction of the authenticity of it is a celebration of our common humanity, and a statement that you are alive, you are able to feel it, to make mistakes, to learn and to improve. And, in doing so, we notice that there is no greater freedom than to be true to ourselves even if the world insists on trying to fit in a way that does not represent us. This freedom is what allows us, finally, to breathe in full, to look you in the eyes in the mirror with pride, and to walk with our heads held high, knowing that, to embrace our imperfections, we are, in fact, reaching out to more of our true selves. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, as we reflect on this journey of self-discovery, we found that the biggest challenge is not in finding it, but the persistence to keep that authenticity, living in the midst of the storms of everyday life, to the opinions of others, for their questions and insist on the come up. It is an exercise of the mind, the courage to constantly do not give up. That's the true fear of rejection, or of any opinion at risk. And there comes a point that a lot of times we forget our greatest strength lies in our vulnerability and our capacity to express who we are of the truth, even if it means to take risks or face the trials. Because the vulnerability we found in our more authentic, and that is where our true strength will show. Each and every scar, every tear, every moment of doubt, it is a testament to our experience, a brand that we are alive, that we are reconnecting with what really matters to you. And, as we move forward on this path, we learn to appreciate the silence, listening to the interior, to rely on our intuition, which is our guide to the most accurate. This is a space to connect to yourself that you have found the peace you have been searching for, the idea that has guided us, and the courage to move forward, even when everything around you seems to fall apart. Because of this, you understand that it is the freedom to be who you are. It's also a responsibility to take care of this gist, of the nurture, that the authenticity of all days, it is one of the greatest gifts we can receive. Because when you do that, we seek outside validation, and we are very happy to validate in-house. You understand that you are enough exactly as we are, with our faults, our strengths, our own stories to tell. And that's a freedom that no one can take away from us, because it is born from within, and it is our permanent and true. And, in the process, all of which seem to be difficult if not impossible becomes possible, because we believe in the power that is within each one of us have the capacity to turn any obstacle into an opportunity for growth. And then, at the end of it all, the biggest lesson is that true freedom lies in the courage to be who you are, to love us, in all our complexity, and live with authenticity, even when the world tries to convince us of the contrary. After all, it is our essence is pure, is our greatest gift, the one that makes us unique as human, and, above all, free. He comments that I came to realize the truth. And it is precisely on this journey of self-knowledge, that is, the trap will go away slowly. With every step that we take within ourselves, we begin to realize that the answer you are looking for, out there, they always have been, in fact, hidden in the essence that we have often forgotten in the rush of day-to-day life, the social pressure and the need to please or to fit in. When we stop to listen to what you really, really feel it, to understand our deepest desires, we can begin to understand the world around us is no longer a prison, but it is also an opportunity for expression and connection to who we really are. And, at this time, liberty is no longer an abstract concept, and goes on to be an in-depth experience, might be touched, and that comes from the inside out, like a flame, it burns quietly, but it lights up everything around it. The courage to be who we are and constitutes acceptance of our shadow, our fears, our vulnerabilities, because they, too, are part of what makes us human. It's like opening a door from a long time ago we had locked, afraid of what she might find on the other side of it. But, in doing so, we discover that the real power lies in the authenticity and transparency and to show who we really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. This authenticity is what makes us connect with each other in a way that's authentic, because it sends a very clear message, I am well, and that doesn't make them any less valuable. On the contrary, to me, it makes it more real and more full. And, as we show, well, we've created a warm welcome to those who are also struggling to break free from your own prison built in. Every decision we make, however small it may seem, it is a statement of who you want to be. Our thoughts, our actions, our dreams, everything that makes up the mosaic that is formed in the course of life. And, quite often, the biggest obstacle is not on the outside, but within us, in the limiting beliefs that we have, in the words that we hear and accepted as absolute truth in the idea that we need to be a certain way to be accepted. But the real transformation happens when we notice that we can rewrite these stories. You can pick and choose who you really want to be, regardless of what the world was waiting for. This is the freedom that comes from a conscious decision, a change of paradigm, from the delivery of authenticity. There is nothing more liberating than to realize that our very essence is sufficient, and that our imperfections are not on the decline, but we enrich one another. And, in embracing all of it, you begin to see life in a different way, and with a lightness that only those who truly know, and if you agree you can reach. This lightness is that it allows us to walk with courage, and with renewed hope for, and knowing that, even in the face of these challenges, we can keep our truth is intact. Because, deep down, what we are looking for, is such a deep connection with who we really are, to a link that gives us a peace that helps us feel full, which reminds us that we are all a part of something bigger than themselves, and that our imperfections are part of the universe, what dwells within you. And then, in the move from the moment, we realize that your life is in a constant search for perfection, but it is a journey of acceptance, growth, and self-love. With each step forward with courage to strengthen this feeling, and every time, the more we realize that it is the most release that is in the courage to be vulnerable, to be open to the world and, at the same time, for our own interior. It's a delicate dance between what we are and who we want to be, the bridge that connects the past to the present, and leads the way to a future that is more genuine, more in line with our deepest truth. And when we do that, we can begin to understand that freedom is not something that is achieved once and for all, but it's a daily practice of courage, and of love, and what we really are. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, as we reflect on this journey of self-discovery, we see a lot of the times, it challenges us to confront what we are is what limits us, it makes us doubt our own light. And it's this internal struggle, sometimes they are silent, that is what makes us grow in the truth. When you look at the inside and see our own shadows, we will give you a decisive step in the direction of the freedom of the church. It is as if, in the light of our little corners in the dark, permittissimos the light of self-love and acceptance, overflow, transform our scars, the marks of courage, of strength, of resilience. Every hurt, every doubt, every fear, it is a testimony that we are living in a constant state of evolution, and that we can choose where we want to go, even if that path will be challenging. Authenticity, then, turns out to be the ultimate weapon against the currents of the invisible. It is often in the trap. When we let go of the burden of trying to be someone you aren't, we begin to experience a feeling of weightlessness that it almost looks magical. It's the same as breathing in full, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. From that point on, our lives begin to shine, with muscle and attracting what it is that is compatible with it, and away from what no longer serves. And it is this connection with our true essence. It is a bridge that will lead you to a life more in tune, more in full, where each and every decision is an act of love for ourselves. And even if the world is to continue to challenge ourselves, our higher power is in knowing that no matter what the external circumstances, we can always come back to you, peace, authenticity, and freedom. And so, our day-to-day becomes the dance continued between what we are, and who we might become, a trend that never ends, for it is, above all, an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves constantly. Each step in this direction, it is a victory for the silent, a celebration of the courage to be ourselves, to love ourselves just as we are, to embrace our common humanity with love and compassion. And, in doing so, we make an impact that goes beyond our own lives, influencing the way are subtle but powerful, and those that are around us, showing off that true freedom begins with the courage to look within and embrace everything that we find over there. And, in the process, we found that the greater truth is that we carry in our hearts. We are free to the extent that we allow ourselves to be ourselves, with all our imperfections, all our beauty, all truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. For this discussion leads us to a question that is often avoided, but it is the key to what's really stopping us from being free. What are the currents in the unseen, which we still hold, even when we would be ready to fly? Maybe it's the fear of being judged, of not being accepted, of losing something that you deem to be of value. Or maybe it's an inner voice that insists to tell us that you are not enough, we need more time, more validation, more for approval. The voice, too often, they look so real, so compelling, that make you doubt your own potential. And now, if we look closely, we see that these limits are not external but built for him inside, and that we may rewrite it at any time. This is the great magic of the transformation, is to understand that we all have the power to change the story we tell ourselves. When we, as authors of our own lives, the feeling of freedom, it makes it more tangible, more concrete. It is not a question as to eliminate fear and doubt, but to learn to live with them, and know they will paralyze them. This is how you learn to navigate the rough waters. Know that the sea may be rough, but that, in essence, our core remains intact, tight, and ready to lead us through it. And, in the process of self-discovery, we've learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to keep going, even when he was. Courage, fueled by the love of self, authenticity, and the desire to be true to who you really are, and it's what allows us to open up the space for freedom to flourish. Thus, every choice we make, every step we take, it becomes a statement of quiet. We are ready to break free, to live a full, without the restraints of the expectations of others, or our own limits, self-imposed. And, when you think about all of this, we realize that the journey is never linear. It is full of ups and downs, findings, and implications, in times of doubt and clarity. But what does matter is the willingness to continue to insist on. You can afford to make mistakes and to learn from. Because, deep down, what we are looking for a true connection with our inner selves, one of which, we think, we feel, and what we do. And it is this harmony that only the conquest, when it is freed from the shackles that keep us from being who we are from the truth. When we do this, everything changes. The world around us is also changing, because we look with more compassion, more love, more authentic. And then, at the end of the day, we realize that the highest freedom is the courage to continue to explore, reinvent yourself, and to love each other unconditionally. So, this is our mission, to continue the journey with courage, with hope, and with an open heart to all the possibilities that life has to offer. Because, deep down, we are all beings in the pursuit of freedom, of love, of connection to our deepest core. And, in this quest, the only sure thing is that we can always choose those who you want to be, each and every day, each decision, each and every beat of your heart. He comments that I came to realize the truth. And, as we continue to delve deeper into this journey, it's impossible not to notice that this is a never-ending quest for self-knowledge. That is, in fact, it's a dance-off between who we are and who we can become. In each experiment, more painful, or joyful, that is to say, it works like a mirror, reflecting everything that needs to be looked at in more detail, with more love each day. It is in the mirror too many times we find our truths, the ones that challenge us to get out of your comfort zone, to challenge our own limits, and recognize that all that we have these stories that we can write back. Because, deep down, this is the narrative that we've built over the life of a work in progress, a kind of mosaic of moments, and when viewed up close, they reveal a beauty that is unique to a substance that has never ceased to exist, even when it has been forgotten or hidden away under layers of fear and doubt. And this is the truth, the light that beats within us all, is the one that guides us in the darkness, which is an incentive for us to continue on, even when everything seems to fall apart, to realize that every fall is a chance for a new start, to give a new meaning to what we believe to be our permanent reality. Because of this, every time we are faced with a difficult decision, a question that seems to have no end, as if a voice susurrus on the inside, reminding us that we have no power over me. You can, at any time, to choose what we eat, what we are going to allow it to grow inside of us. And you have the choice. To this gear, the complex of a lifetime, it is perhaps the most revolutionary act that we may do to you. You decide to be who you truly want to be, regardless of the standards imposed from outside opinions, or of our own limits, self-imposed. This freedom of choice, it's actually a bridge that connects the present to the infinite potential that exists in each and every one of us. And this is a bridge that is built up with small daily actions, words that heal, or hurt you, with the thoughts that rise, or that is in the trap. Every step you take, every decision, is a seed sown in the soil of our inner selves, which, over time, to flourish in a more authentic to ourselves. To understand this dynamic, it was as if a whole new perspective to come, for a more in-depth understanding of what the change is not something that is external, but to an inner transformation, a renewal that comes from the inside out. And, when you accept that responsibility, we can begin to understand that we are not victims of our circumstances, but the authors of our own story. We are not made out of the events of the past, but the choices in the present, the dreams that we can have a hope that never dies, even when it appears to be weak. And then, in a continuous movement, we have learned that the greatest power lies in our ability to reinvent ourselves, to embrace our imperfections as part of the process of change, recognizing that each and every scar tells a story of strength and growth. In this course, each and every problem, if it makes a connection to our higher power, each of the doubt and an opportunity to deepen our trust in life, in our lives and in our ability to create a new one tomorrow. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, as we reflect on this journey of self-discovery, we realize that it never ends, it just changes, it evolves. It's like a stream, which, at times, seems to lead us away from what we know, but in fact it is pushing us to the core of our being. And it is there that we find true freedom, one that is not dependent on external conditions, but it is born out of an intimate connection with that which we are for real. When we are able to see beyond the mask, for the opinions of others, the expectation that they were to be imposed, we find that the greatest gift that you can give us is to establish its authenticity. And it's this authenticity that takes courage, because it means letting go of many of the certainties of many of the convention, in many of the masks we wear to fit into a world which, many times, is preferred to the surface rather than depth. But, if you make this choice, we begin to realize that we are complete. You don't need external validation to feel whole. And the freedom to be who we truly are, it is, in fact, is the greatest act of self-love you can practice on, because it connects us with the one part of a more pure, more true, and it never ceases to exist, even when you are not on the watch. To advance more in this way, it is essential to understand that this journey is not a straight line, but the spiral of the findings. Each round brings new insights, more clarity, more empathy for ourselves and for others. And, in the course of this journey, we've learned that patience, compassion, and forgiveness are the best tools, because they help us to embrace our own imperfections, and of the understanding of the growth of the real happening in the rhythm of our hearts, and in no time, at no charge. It is in this understanding that we can find peace in knowing that we are exactly where we need to be, even if that path is still uncertain, even though the question's still on track. Because you are, in essence, we are all sailors in a single day, looking for meaning, connection, and love, that invisible force that moves everything, and that, too often, we only manage to realize when we stop to listen to the silence inside of us. And it is in that silence, we come up with the answers to the most profound insights of more intense, the force that drives you to move forward with a renewed hope, and the certainty that each and every step, however small it may seem, it takes us closer to the truth. And, when you think about all of this, we realize that the real transformation happens when you can't look inside you with sincerity, and without the fear of looking at things that are still challenges that we are still unable to accept it completely. Because, at the end of the day, it is the latter that sets them free, as they allow for the light that is within each one of us to shine forth unhindered. And, in taking on this journey of self-discovery, we have found that we are much more than we think, all that we have inside of us, a force that can move the mountains, hope that doesn't run out, and with a courage, a lot of times, we don't even know we had. All of this is because, deep down, we are ever evolving, always ready to wake up to a new version of ourselves, the wiser, more compassionate, more free. And, as we walk through this journey of discovery, the only certainty we have is that, when you get in touch with the essence more deeply, everything around you starts to change because of the change from within. We change our reality. And, even if the outside world will continue to spin our perspective, if you zoom in, your faith will be strengthened, and that hope is reborn, ever fresh, ever vibrant, because you know that you're exactly in the place where we are supposed to be living in precisely the story of what we choose to write about. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, in the depths of this never-ending quest for meaning, for truth, for that is what leads us to discover that the greatest change happens when we stop looking for answers outside, and began to plunge inside of us. It is as if, for a while, we are distracted too much by the noise outside, and with the opinions of others, the expectations that have been imposed on, and to forget that the real change happens in the silence, the connection is intimate with our inner selves. And then, in the silence, the questions that a lot of times we avoid questions that will challenge everything you thought to be real. These are the questions that cause us to realize that life, in its essence, the most pure, it is a long journey of self-discovery, and a constant quest for understanding who you really are behind the mask of the roles that we play, the stories we tell ourselves, of course. To understand this, we can begin to understand what all this fighting, all this internal struggle is not in vain. Every pain, every fear, every doubt, we tend to be an invitation to disguised as a discovery, the greater the chance of freeing ourselves from limiting beliefs and reconnecting with what is most true. It is as if, for behind every difficulty, and he was hiding in a mirror that reflects the things that we need to accept it or transform it. And in the latter, no matter how difficult it may be, it is the key step to change, the deep and long-lasting. Because, after all, our greatest strength is not in the outside world, but on the strength that we have created within ourselves, in our own truth, our vulnerabilities, and our imperfections. And this is where it comes in, the power of awareness, and the understanding that we are much more than our emotions and fleeting, of what our errors and successes of our apparent limitations. We are, in essence, that it is in a constant state of evolution, and a soul that seeks to remind you of who you truly are, in addition to what has been taught or conditioned. When we begin to break free of this surface layer, there is something going on, a kind of awakening silent. Be aware that you are here to learn, to grow, to love, and, above all, set us free. And in this world is to escape from the difficulty, but to learn how to navigate through them with courage, faith, and authenticity. It is as if, by agreeing to each and every part of us, even the most dark, we open the door to a greater light that lights up everything with a clarity that seemed to be out of reach. And, in the process, we realize that the true power lies in the control of the external world, but to transform our relationship with him. Because when we change on the inside, everything around us changes, the people, the circumstances of the time. It is a dance of subtle, with a trade-off between who we are and what we are attracted to, between the vibration and the universe in which we live in. And the more we align with our truth, the more we feel that everything will flow easier, which in the past, if they become masters and win, the celebrations of the day, it's just us. Thus, we have found that the secret is in the search of something outside of us, but to recognize that we are already complete, that is, we already have everything we need, and that is, to allow us to make such a deep connection, we are able to transform the stage into an opportunity for growth. And, when you think about all of this, it is clear that this is a journey of self-discovery, is a road that never ends, because each and every step reveals a new layer, deeper and more accurate. It is a constant invitation to look within, to question their beliefs, to free with our emotions captured. And, in it, we will find the peace you have been searching for it out there because it's always been inside of us, just waiting for you to akalhesamos with a spirit of courage and love. When you truly understand this, we realize that life is no longer a battle, and it turns out to be a dance of harmony is what we want, who we are and what we are willing to accept it. And then, in the flow, everything you earn that sense, it all makes sense, even if at times it seems that everything is falling apart, because, really, we are just setting us free from that which no longer serves us, to make space for what you really are. And it is this freedom that authenticity is what makes us connect with a greater purpose, and a mission that only we can accomplish in our own soul, our own pace, and in our deepest truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, deep down, everything seems to be in a mess with no direction. It is in fact a transformation from quiet. What's going on inside of us, it is often invisible to the eye, but deep in our souls. It's as if we go through a process of cleaning, a cleaning as well as emotional, that shows the layers of ourselves that were previously hidden, secret fears, limiting beliefs, or even the expectations that have been laid down. And allow the cleanup to happen, we began to see what appeared to be a loss as a loss. In fact, it was a liberation parade. Every pain, every doubt, every single moment of silence is forced to have a purpose in making us look inside, to force us to confront the things that avidavamos to accept our shadow, our deepest fears, and, at the same time, the embrace, the light that had always been there, hidden behind the layers of resistance. It is at this point that it all turns out to be a delicate dance between what we are, who we are, and what we are becoming. Because, at the core, this is a journey of self-discovery is not a straight line, but a spiral that leads us ever deeper into a never-ending quest for understanding who you truly are in addition to the masks, in addition to the labels, in addition to the projections of a third party. And this, many times, and it hurts, because it requires us to surrender to what comforts us, what gives us a sense of control, even if that control is an illusion. It takes courage to accept that the stranger is a part of the process, and the chaos apparent, it is only a transitional phase towards the order's true, and that which is born of a deep understanding of the self. This understanding leads us to an understanding of the universe, its laws, and invisible, as well as a guide to what we really need, even though, at the moment, everything seems to be falling apart. And then there comes a question, which only a few have the guts to stand up in front of you. Are and will be, many a times, we are caught up in a narrative that keeps us moving? It will be that we have inside of us a strength of the unconscious to the new, the unknown, to challenge our certainties? And when we were able to see, in addition to these limitations, we begin to realize that our true freedom lies in the delivery, with the confidence that all of this is happening at the right time, at the right pace, and to give up control, we make room for it in the stream of life will surprise us with opportunities that I never imagined. All of this leads us to a deeper reflection on the role of our decision-making. Because, sometimes, you get stuck with the idea that the choices we make have to be perfect, and that everything should be under control, when, in reality, all that really matters is the intention, in the sincerity of my heart. And, above all, a willingness to move forward, despite the obstacles, even with all the doubts, because it is the persistence that we find our true strength. Each and every step that we take in the direction of self-discovery, it is a statement of what you are willing to become better versions of ourselves, to rebuild our lives on the basis of the authenticity, the truth, and the courage to be who you really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. And when you have this understanding deepens, we see that all of the things that bother us, it challenges us, it is part of a major growth opportunity. Because you are, in essence, we are in a constant state of evolution, and that in each phase, each of you will be a critical piece in the puzzle that is our essence. And this is where it comes in with an idea, that many will avoid that, many times, you need to let go of what no longer serves you, even if this is letting go of hurts, though it is difficult, it appears to be a loss. In fact, it is an act of self-love, and a call to free us from the weight of the past, so that we can really resonate with the present, and what is true for us right now. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand what life is made of cycles, the farewell, which are transformed into new beginnings, the doors are closed so you can open, always in the direction of our growth. And then, in the moving and delivery, we have found a peace that does not come from the outside, but is born from within, out of a deep connection with our most authentic self. This is a peace that allows us to trust the journey, even when the way seems dark or in the air. Because you are, in fact, that security is just an invitation for you to delve a little bit deeper, to reconnect with our inner selves, with what really matters to you. And, in doing so, we realize that the greatest gift we can give ourselves, it's the courage to be faithful to the truth, to listen to what your heart really wants, even if it goes against what the circumstances are telling us to be right and to be expected. Because, after all, the greatest freedom is in your authenticity, and the courage to go with the flow of who we are, without fear, without judgment, with compassion and love for all that we were, all that we are and all that we can be. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. If you've come this far, it's because that's the message he spoke to you in some way. And this is a sign that we are together on this journey of reflection and growth. A few people come to the end, and if you're here it's because something is in the way it made any sense to you. He writes that it was for me. You know that you have dedicated the time to listen to those words fills me with gratitude, because you share this moment with you is special. If the conversation touched your heart, and you take the chance to leave a like so we can build the message, and to reach more people who need to hear this today. And, if you feel the urge, he says that I'm with you till the end of it. Your support makes all the difference, and help with the build of this connection is true, and that's all that really matters to you. The idea here is that each and every one of us, it can feel like you are part of something bigger than themselves, a movement of authenticity, and the courage to be who you really are. If you like it and you want to continue to explore these themes with me, and if you sign up for the channel, so, we can go together, the deeper the reflections, and discoveries in a way that makes sense for our journey. Because, deep down, that the more we seek it's such a freedom to be truly ourselves, without fear, with love and compassion for all who have lived, and for all we might yet become. And if you that this content, it made sense to you, then the next step is to go in with me, because the journey doesn't end here, it just gets renewed each time a new video each and every new reflection. There's a video right here on the side, which complements this subject, click, and keeps me there as well. So, we went out together, creating a space for connection, learning, and transformation. Because, at the end of the day, this is a story you can connect with our essence. It is a journey that is worth it to be traced, step by step, with an open heart and the desire to evolve every time.